What?
Life form detected.
What'd she say? What'd she say?
Life form detected.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this rough post-game show after a Sunday night football game between the Bills and the Ravens. Just a tough one. We're here to break it down a little bit. Please post your comments. Let's talk about it and flush this thing and move on to the next one. Big game next against the Texans. But just yeah, rough game from the start. Um, Kind of wanted to start from the beginning of the whole thing. I figured going into this game, you kind of got to get out to a quick start. Um, got to get points out early. Baltimore likes to start out fast and score quick, and so Bills get the ball first, and you got to think, man, put together a drive here and get some points on the board early. They start moving the ball, and then they get that early fourth down, go for it, which I thought was a good call by McDermott on the 4th and 1. Josh Allen sneak, um, moving the ball again some more, and then they get to that 3rd and 2. Didn't love the play call in that territory, especially in a where you want to get points on that first drive. Really hoping that they would call a run there, or even one of those like receiver screens or flares, and then go for it on 4th down. Josh throws incomplete on 3rd and 2 at the 50. It's now 4th and 2 at the 50, and I really wanted to see McDermott, saying how he's such an aggressive coach, but in that spot, like that's where you can set the tone for the game. You were aggressive early in your own zone and went for it on 4th and 1 and 4th and 2. I really would have liked to see them go for it. They don't. They punt the ball there, um, and I thought that kind of set the tone for the game early. Um, and we were flat ever since that. So we punt, on the first drive at the 50. Baltimore gets it, 1st and 10 at the 13. Um, they run. It looked like a trap on the right side, and Derrick Henry just took it. It looked like, I want to say, if that was Dorian, looked like he guessed the wrong hole, and maybe Hamlin as well. And Henry took it, and that kind of just set the tone for the game. Um, Really disappointed with the first half as far as just it looked like both sides of the ball on the line. We were just flat and getting pushed off the ball. Everything was react. There was no attacking on either side of the ball. And I thought both drives, our first drive and their first drive, really set the tones for the game. Yeah, exactly, Matt. He goes for it on the 39 and not the 50. And part of that, I wonder if it's the play call on 3rd down, the throw to Kincaid. Um, I wonder if that had something to do with it and leaving a 4th and 2. But I mean, if you're setting the tone and you're aggressive, that's a go for it all day for me. Especially if you're willing to do it from the 39. There's no reason not to do it from the 50. It's the first drive of the game, and yeah, I think you're setting a tone there, and you got to come away with points on that first drive with the way Baltimore likes to play and how fast they like to start. I was real disappointed with that, and that kind of changed that tone setting, first drive of the game by just conceding and punting. Um, and then, yeah, the next play is the Derrick Henry run for a touchdown. So that was tough, to start the game out that way. And then Bills get the ball back, um, 11 plays, 38 yards, and get a field goal. Um, that it's just, again, like the drive, was going, and then you had the pass to Pullman, incomplete, and it was a penalty on Edwards, on David Edwards, brought him behind the chains, so they went from 3rd and 7 at the Baltimore 30. to 3rd and 17 at the Baltimore 40. Um, and uh, and then it was 4th and 9, and they had to kick the field goal. Um, yeah, I agree, man. I think that's going back to that first drive. I think that was the problem, right? It's 3rd and 2, and I just didn't like the play call there in that area. It's you want to set yourself up to be able to go for it on 4th down, and you didn't call a play that was anything easy access, any easy throw, no run there. Like I just would have liked to see a lot of other things, and then it's 4th and 2, and you just concede and punt. I feel like the whole game plan was just off for the coaching staffs. Like they wanted to try to like dip their toes into this game instead of just attacking it, and that's not how you can play a team like Baltimore at home. I mean, they start out so fast and showed it all season. They did it last year too. It's almost like playing Kansas City, when they were lighting up the scoreboard, or even New England back in the day, as far as like you have to dictate the tempo of the game. You have to dictate the flow of the game, and you have to jump right in and attack. If you sit back and try to get into the flow, it's just not going to work. Um, yeah, I do agree. I was really confused with Brady's game plan. He was going from like over 70% motion to pre-snap to very little this game. There was nothing misdirection. There was nothing trying to confuse Baltimore. It was basically just like line up and go man to man and just try to take it to him. And I don't think that's the way you want to play Baltimore. I mean, if anything, it's the opposite of how you want to play Baltimore, especially with all the coverage busts and confusion they've had in the back end. It's you want to confuse them, do miscommunication, um, and you just didn't see that at all. So it was confusing for me, the game plan. But again, like the offense was moving the ball. It just was mistakes early on. Some drops, some real costly drops. The penalties. I mean, that penalty on Edwards was really tough. The Spencer Brown, you could argue that wasn't a hold, but Van Noy burnt him on the inside, and that was a brutal penalty that backed him up. And so you just can't do that early. You can't get behind the sticks. You can't not get points. And so to come away, with the first drive, punting and then being down 7-0, to come down the next drive and have to concede to a field goal when you're moving the ball well is tough. Baltimore goes right back down, 9 plays, 70 yards, 4 minutes, and scores another touchdown. It's 14-3. So you got to say, man, this offense has got to get it going. They got to do something to answer, and they go 3 and out, 3 plays, 9 yards, and punt. And again, it's a 3rd and 1, and it's a Josh Allen short to Dawson Knox for no gain. So it's just weird. It was out of characteristic for what Brady's been doing, um, and it was tough. Yeah, we called it, when they said, Alan Eck was going to be the head ref and his crew. It was not a good look for the Bills. They don't traditionally call a lot of offensive holding penalties and stuff like that. So you knew, playing a Derrick Henry team that it was gonna be tough. But the weird thing was is we were getting the offensive holding penalties, so it wasn't very consistent. Also, like you had inconsistent on some of those personal fouls. Um, Josh had his helmet ripped off, and the Ravens defender threw it, and there was no penalty. And then you had the play. What I think it was by Smoot, who he kneed the Ravens player in the head getting up, and he gets the foul. So it was just an uneven game. I think it's just one of those nights where you see like none of the game flow, nothing was really working the Bills' way in the first half, to include the penalties. It seemed like all the first half penalties went against the Bills, and it was in critical spots too. Um, Credit to the Ravens though, when they did get any of the penalties. I mean, it was just easy for them to get that yardage back. Um, I'm trying to focus more on the offense right now, and then we'll get to the defense. Because in the first half, to me, it felt like the you needed the offense to pick the defense up. The defense was struggling to get their feet into the game. The linebackers were just lost. It seemed like Babbage didn't really have a good game plan for how he wanted to um, kind of protect his linebackers and attack the Ravens. And instead, they were trying to sit back. It looked like and just kind of try to see what the Ravens wanted to do and then respond to it. And by that point, it's just too late to make those adjustments against the Ravens team like that. I wanted to see them come out with a firm game plan and attack and take it to the Ravens, and the defense just didn't do that. Yeah, Roquan Smith for sure. I was disappointed. I thought they were going to try to attack him a little more. You saw it a little bit as far as in coverage. Trenton Simpson and Roquan, like they can be had in the middle of the field, and I think that's what was tough with Brady this game as well. Is it seemed like when they started getting the momentum going over the middle of the field, you had Shakir go down with the ankle injury, and then Kincaid with the tough drop on third down, and it was just little things like that that just kind of unraveled their plan. You saw when they went back to the middle of the field, they were really successful, but they just didn't have a chance to string enough of that together to score. Because every time it seemed like the Bills were getting momentum on their side, they would go backwards with one of those penalties, or the Ravens would make a good play call. I thought Zach Orr had some really good play designs as far as he was overloading certain sides and then dropping players and sending corners to blitz Josh and getting free looks. The communication on the line continues to be a sore point. They're not communicating well with the blitz looks, and you can't just allow free blitzers in like they had that game. Um, so that was disappointing to see. Even towards the end of the game, you saw they overloaded the right side, and Spencer Brown looks like he took the edge defender and the corner blitzed, but they had two guys in. Like they brought in two backs to help block, and the one of them I can't remember the personnel. I want to say it was like Ray Davis or somebody, but they stepped up to the line to help the interior and left the outside wide open. So that's just stuff they got to figure out. It's early on in the season too. Um, Again, though, you got to credit the Ravens. They came ready to play. They had some really good game plans, and the Bills just didn't seem ready to play. Like I said, they came out flat. It seemed like they just wanted to kind of feel out the game, and the Ravens dictated terms on both sides of the ball. And by the time the Bills adjusted, it was too late. Um, I mean, you saw it in the second half. The Bills started to adjust. The defense stepped up. Even before the half, right? They forced that Lamar fumble, and you think the offense has a chance to come down and get some points before the half. I think there was 2 minutes left, um, and they can't do anything. It's 6 plays, 13 yards after the fumble. It's just brutal. You gotta pick up your defense. They finally made a stop. You get some points there going into the half and make it 21, even 6, 21-10, and you'll live to go into the second half and the offense comes up flat again. Um, Josh with three straight incompletions to end that drive. Um, Come out of the half, and again, you force a three and out by the defense, which was great to see. It looks like they started to actually attack. They had a couple nice blitzes there to force minus 10 yards on that drive. Offense comes out, goes 4 plays, 60 yards, and scores a touchdown. Momentum completely swings. It's 21-10. You're feeling really good. Uh, Defense comes back out, 3 plays, -2 yards, force the punt, and so you're right back in it. You could feel the momentum. Definitely went to the Bills' side. Um, yeah, man, that Coleman drop was brutal. Down the sideline, I thought that you couldn't throw that any better by Josh, and that's kind of how the whole first half went. It seemed like every time we needed to make a play, something bad happened, whether it was a drop by Coleman or by Kincaid, or just mistakes with the penalties and the two holding calls. So back to that second drive out of the half. It's 21-10. Bills get the ball back after two consecutive three and outs. Um, they got, let's see, 30 yards going. They got a couple first downs, three first downs. It's 2nd and 7. And and Brady with the trick play call. Um, you know, I don't like trick plays to begin with. I feel like you reserve them for very specific situations, especially like momentum's not on your side, you can't get anything going, then that's fine. You can try a last ditch effort. But for me, that's the only time you bring out a trick play. Um, I I don't think when the momentum is on your side is the time to bring out a trick play. I think that's more of when you do like a shot play, a play action pass or something like that, and go and try a deep shot. That's more of like the kind of trick play that I would want, something misdirection, but never like a full trick play like they pulled. I mean, Josh Allen lining up on the outside 5 yards back, Samuel, as your quarterback. I just don't understand that play call. Like, there's no reason to call that. You've not even given that look. Like, Coleman's not taking a direct snap there, and you've never shown that. Like, so of course, like, what are they going to think he's going to do? Like, throw the ball or run it up the gut? Like, it's 2nd and 7 from the Baltimore 44. So I just don't understand that look at all. Of course, hindsight is 2020. Like, if that play works out and it's great, then sure. But I just don't understand the need for that call when momentum's on our side. The offense is finally clicking and moving the ball. Again, it's 2nd and 7 from the Baltimore 44. It's 21-10. Like there's just no need to go for that play. Samuel takes the snap, goes to the left to pitch it to Josh to throw it, but again, like there's no misdirection there. Like you're literally leading the defense right to Josh. Van Noy makes a great play, but Josh has got to see that and either go down or just throw the ball away like quickly. Like that play is dead at that point. Like the Ravens did a great job of blowing that play up. So again, like hindsight, it's 2020. You got to hope that Brady learns from that as a young play caller. Like that is just a momentum killer. Like you cannot do that on the offense. Like the offensive side of the ball is meant to gain momentum and to keep momentum, especially when you're moving the ball like that. Like you cannot risk it a big negative play with a trick play like that in that spot in the game. So thought that was really brutal. Again, like that's like worst case scenario, right? Like Josh fumbles it there. Even an interception is better, but just not the spot for it. I thought really like everyone else that really swung the momentum there. It looked like the Bills really had a chance to come back. You get any kind of points there, even a field goal makes it 21-13 in a one-score game, and you got to feel like you're right there, right back in it. Um, Immediately, the Ravens turn that fumble around and go 6 plays, 59 yards for a touchdown and make it 28-10, and it really felt like the game never had a chance after that. Bills get the ball back after that touchdown drive, go 8 plays, 40 yards, and that's where Bass misses the field goal. That drive was tough for me. That Josh sack was really brutal. That felt like old Josh to me from 3 4 years ago. Um, that's the one where they had the free rusher off the edge, and he stiff arms the first guy, and then when he's got the edge defender right there in front of him, like you just got to throw that away, even when the corner's there. I mean, it's a dead play at that point, and I know Josh, in that moment, especially where the game is, like he feels like it's worth the risk, I'm sure, to make that play and to try to make that throw, but um, it was just rough. He takes the sack there, and so instead of going from what they were at the Baltimore 14, and he loses 16 yards back to the Baltimore 30. So I mean, not only did was it a bad play and a major negative play, but you could argue that it made that field goal way harder, and took away the chance of going for it on 4th down, right? It's 4th and 20, like you're not going to go for that in that spot. So that play by Josh was brutal. He had a couple head scratchers today. You could tell he just wasn't feeling comfortable in this game and the game plan and with some of the decisions he was making. Matt brings up a good point with the Samuel thing. Yeah, it's interesting. Like some of the stuff that was coming out of training camp and before the season and the practices, like they were doing some really cool stuff with Samuel and giving him more carries and more looks out of the backfield and more screens and stuff like that. And then also they were doing some deep shots with him, and you just haven't seen any of that. And right now it looks really clunky, like trying to bring him in. It kind of reminds me of like Daquan Hardy last year of, you know, you saw in camp and some stuff that they had some plans for him and some jet motion and some deep shots with him and stuff like that. And then the season comes around and it's like they can't figure out a way to use this guy. And it seems like that's what's happening with Samuel now. Um, it's tough to see because I really like Curtis Samuel. I think you can use him way differently than they're using him now. Um, so it's tough to watch, but yeah, it feels like for sure it's forced and not a very good game plan for him. Again, like it's easy to be reactionary. I'm not sure how much the toe is affecting him still, and they just want to get him some easy looks and get him into the game. But yeah, it's not been pretty with some of the plays they've designed for him and just trying to force the ball into him. Um, on the defensive side of the ball, we can switch up to that because after Bass missed that field goal, it was pretty much done. Baltimore gets the ball back and goes right down the field and scores a touchdown. Um, so defensively to start the game, I think a big talking point for a lot of us was, what the plan was going to be with the linebackers and, were they going to go nickel, were they going to run some base? I think the consensus was they were probably going to start the game in nickel, see how it went, and situationally pull out base. And man, what a tough way to start. It was a great play call by the Ravens. The trap wham, it looked like they ran on the right side, like just perfectly blocked. I'd like to go back and see, but it looked like two of the Bills guessed the wrong gaps. I think it was Dorian and like Hamlin, and you give Henry like that a wide open lane. I mean, he's gone. So, um, yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Matt. I think that's what we were all worried about, right? Is the team that can expose you the most down the middle is the Ravens, and we saw that perfectly tonight. And the fact you don't have your three best players on the second level not playing tonight is huge. So I'm sure a lot of fans and national media and stuff are going to overreact to this game and way oversell it. Um, I'm not as worried about it. For me, it's more like I'm more worried about the safety position. Um, I think the linebacker thing hopefully gets solved. Bernard coming back. Spector's really tried. He's made some good plays. He's had good command of the defense, but he just does not have the same read and react and anticipatory reaction that like a Bernard has. He also doesn't shoot the gaps and force some of those negative plays that are really needed. And same with Dorian. Like Dorian's played well, but neither of those guys play the kind of style that I think a Babbage and McDermott really want as far as, man, you got to fire your gun quick and get through the line of scrimmage and that's what they're hoping for is you get a couple of those negative plays on first down and even second down and force them into third and long. And that was my big thing is you got to force this Ravens team into third and longs. Um, and they just weren't doing that. It was too much easy yardage. And then Justice Hill was just slaughtering them out of the backfield. And that was another one that we talked about on the show last night was, Justice Hill coming out of the backfield. And even I thought you'd see Likely do it some more, but they didn't really need to bring Likely into the backfield to help with blocking. So it was mainly just Justice Hill like leaking out and doing flares and little cut routes over the middle. And the linebackers were just lost. And so it's hard to overreact too much on that because hopefully you're getting Bernard back for the Texans, and if not by then for the Jets game. And I think quite a bit of that gets cleaned up, especially when they can go to dime and take Dorian off the field for those plays. But yeah, the middle of the field is definitely a problem until you get those guys back. I mean, you saw how much they missed Tanner in this game. I think Cam Lewis, again, another guy who's filled in well, but if you've watched the film over the last few weeks and seen some of the breakdowns, if you haven't watched it yourself, Cam is just hanging on by a thread, man. Like really, he gets blocked so easily. He's out of position a lot. Um, and its coverage just hasn't been great. So, if you can get Cam off the field, I think that would be a huge win. And I like Cam a lot, but that's a tough position in this McDermott defense. And Taryn sure makes it look easy, but getting him back would be huge for games like this because Cam just doesn't have the chops to help. He can't take on blockers. He doesn't knife through and make tackles. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you. That's kind of my thing during the game was, you know, Spectre and Dorian Williams were just getting so lost in there. I mean, they were sucking in so hard on some of those play actions, and then their drops were way too deep, and neither of them were accounting for Hill coming out of the backfield. It was tough to watch, and I think you saw in the second half they adjusted by just sending Dorian and Spectre, and they were having Spectre spy a little and keep him at the line of scrimmage because it was tough, man. They were just lost tonight. It's a tough assignment. I think it might have been even like Collinsworth or someone made the point of it's kind of like in college when you're facing like a Navy offense, like a wing T, even going back to high school. Like if you're not used to seeing that, it's really tough. It's unique. You're not going to see many offenses like that again. Um, Closest thing is probably like a Detroit or something. So it's hard to again overreact to a very specific play style. And again, when we played them, it's a very tough matchup going into this game um, for our defense against that offense with the injuries we've had. I think a lot of us thought our offense would play a lot better, and that would kind of offset some of the defensive struggles. And again, you would hope that if the offense can get out to a faster start, it would help the defense kind of dictate some of the terms and force the Ravens to have to throw more. Obviously, that game script didn't happen tonight, and so it was kind of a worst case scenario as far as the Ravens were allowed to get into their game script, pound the rock, and play action, and they converted a couple big third downs. I think it was on their third drive. The first two drives, they didn't even get into third down, which is just tells you how bad the defense was. Um, I think a theme tonight for me, which was the first time we saw it this year, was it seemed like both lines for the Bills just came out flat. We had yet to see that this year. It seemed like the offensive line for the Bills was playing really well this year and attacking. Seemed like tonight they weren't attacking. You didn't see too much um, the Bills pushing anyone back as far as on the Ravens. And that's a really good front by the Ravens, but part of that is kind of how the offense came out. Um, it was throw heavy early, um, and and I think that's you don't really set the tone that way. It's kind of like Josh, how he likes to get hit early and help get him into the flow of the game, and it feels like the offensive line needed that a little bit as well. Um, it was like they were trying to drink out of a fire hose on some of those dropbacks. Again, like lots of miscommunication by the offensive line. And then the same thing with the defensive line. I mean, it's tough when your first play you go out there and you get smacked in the mouth like that for 87-yard touchdown. Um, so that really sets the tone for you. But man, I really want to see that this defense should be attacking and coming downhill. If anything, just sell out and go downhill. Don't it seemed like tonight they were playing back at the start and then they tried to adjust by playing in the middle and only a few plays you saw them actually attacking downhill. Bishop came in, you saw him a couple times fire downhill. Hamlin tried but whiffed on two of them that I saw. So I think that's the big takeaway for me is I want to see this defense flying around and hitting and coming downhill. And it seemed like tonight they were going backwards, and you just never want to see that. Yeah, uh, I think that number was a little bit deceiving. Their corners are solid, man. Humphrey and Stevens have been playing really well. Teams have really been beating up the Ravens on the interior, down the seams, with tight ends and slot receivers, and even backs catching some balls. And you just didn't see us do that too much. It's kind of been my knock on this offense, even going back to last year, is we don't attack the seams very well. Um, and I don't know why. I feel like Kincaid and Knox are very capable of running seam routes. You have some taller receivers in the slot that can do it as well, and even Cook's shown some flashes of being able to do that. And that I thought that was going to be prime for this game. Like I talked about earlier, I really expected some more things over the middle of the field, and just attacking it and spamming it, and you just didn't see it this game. It seemed like every time the Bills got into a rhythm of going over the middle of the field with Kincaid and Shakir, um, even Coleman at the end of the game, something negative would happen. So you had the Shakir injury, you had the Kincaid drop, you had the trick play that killed another drive that was flowing nicely. So it's hard to overreact too much to this game. It's kind of one of those games where just everything went wrong, and and uh, and it kind of just got away from them. So again, it's the type of opponent too. We played right into their hands, and so it's hopefully one that you see the both sides of the ball adjust to and go moving forward. But um, it doesn't change how I feel about this team going forward. I still think they're one of the five best teams right now in football. I just think it's a tough matchup, and the start of the game was just the opposite of how you want it to go. Um, it did feel a little bit to me like the Jaguars game last year, or even the Baltimore game like 2 years ago, as far as like the whole mood of the team seemed off, and that's what you don't like to see. You're waiting for someone in the beginning of that game to make a play or turn things around, and you just really didn't see it until that Lamar fumble was the first play that really kind of turned things around. Um, so that's tough to see, but again, you know, the offense has been having to do that for this team, and it's tough to keep asking the defense to make plays when they're missing three really critical pieces. Um, so again, I think it's just so game script dependent. You know, you would have liked to see McDermott, like you said, Matt, early go for that one at the 50-yard line on 4th and 2. I think that's what kind of was so frustrating right now is this what is the identity of this team? If it's not be aggressive and be efficient on offense, then what is it? And if it's not attacking on defense, then what is it? Because you didn't see any of that tonight. Um, you didn't see them be aggressive or efficient on offense. They were hurting themselves. They were making mistakes you don't normally see them make, and they weren't aggressive. That's for sure. I don't think calling a quick play on 2nd and 7 on the plus 44-yard line is an aggressive play. You didn't see anything in the first half down the field, minus the Coleman drop. Um, you didn't see anything attacking the weaknesses of the defense. You didn't see anything matchup focused. That's the thing that was also baffling about this game and Brady's plan. Like, I'd love to hear him talk about what was his plan for this game because I didn't see any motion trying to isolate any defenders. I didn't see any overloading sides. You didn't see any trips. You didn't see any two backs in the backfield and motioning guys out. You didn't see any orbit motion in this game. No jet motion. Like, it was just very weird. It was like, again, like they just came out flat and stagnant and just were like, we're gonna line up, see what the Ravens do, and then we're gonna react to it. And that's the opposite of what this Bills offense has been doing. They've been really dictating terms and having a really clear game plan. Like, you could tell the first two drives of the first three games what the offense wanted to do. Even the first game against the Cardinals, it was mistakes, and the fumble by Josh that killed the drives early, but you could see what they wanted to do. They had a clear plan, and in this game, I don't know what their plan was. There was a lot of stuff behind the line of scrimmage and outside. And again, like you had said earlier, Matt and I talked about, is everyone knew the weakness of this defense is down the middle, and there just wasn't plays designed up to attack that. So that was disappointing from Brady. It was the first game I've seen him since he's been the offensive play caller that I couldn't tell a clear plan of what he wanted to do, and I didn't see who he wanted to attack, who he was trying to isolate. So that was really frustrating. Um, and I'm hoping something that's just a one game thing and gets cleaned up. No coordinator has a perfect game. You know, they all have duds, and this was just one of them. But yeah, he definitely compounded it with that. that trick play call because I thought finally they had gotten some flow to the offense and they were moving the ball, and uh, and that certainly killed the game for sure, at least the momentum. Again, defensively, like it's hard to take too much away from this and be worried going forward. Like I can understand the argument for the safeties, but it's no different than we thought from game one. Um, this was not the type of game that either Rapp or Hamlin are going to excel at. I mean, you're asking them to go one high and come into the box. You even saw looks where they had both safeties in the box, and that's not really what you want them doing. Um, I think it's a tough script for them, and I don't know what their answer is because I don't think Edwards coming in is going to be much help in this type of game. Um, I'm excited to go back and watch Bishop snaps. Um, he looked like the only one on the defense who was really aggressive and firing his gun confidently. But again, that's kind of easy to do when you're a young guy and you get an opportunity to come off the bench. Um, but yeah, there was a lot of missed tackles, a lot of gap integrity issues on defense. Guys just getting out of gaps, missing gaps, and against a good run team like the Ravens, you can't do that. You have to have gap discipline. You got to be patient, and you can't oversell. And you saw that early and often with this defense. These guys were just getting out of position. Um, Ed had a pretty tough first half. Daquan had a really tough first half. Um, and Vaughn as well. Like it seemed like the Ravens had a plan for the aggressiveness of all three of those guys, and we're just letting them get upfield and moving them a little bit out of the way, and then attacking that space and those gaps. They adjusted a little bit in the second half, but you could argue it was too little, too late at that point. So again, this is a very specific offense you're going against. You're not going to see another offense like it. Um, so hopefully they learn from it, teach tape, and move on. The Texans are a very different opponent next week. So it'll be good to see how this team bounces back. They got to go on the road again. Um, and I think they can attack that Texans offensive line, and this should be a game that plays kind of more into the Bills' hands as far as limit explosive passing plays and get pressure on Stroud. And I think that's how you beat them. You disguise coverage, um, keep the top on, and you get after them and get some pressure on them. So it's a good bounce back game. I think it's a good bounce back opponent. Um, and I think that Texans defense, the offense should be able to get back on track and get the ball moving. So yeah, for me overall tonight, it was frustrating. It's tough to see in a national spotlight game like this, the team come out the way they did and play the way they did. But I don't think anyone should feel less confident about this team going forward. Um, I mean, most of us had this picked as a pick'em game or leaning Ravens going into the season. You could say that changed after 3 weeks, but it's still relatively the same teams. If anything, the Bills' injuries on defense kind of tipped it even more even, and the game script just went perfectly to start for the Ravens. So yeah, I mean, I had it going into the season, I had this as a loss. I also have the next two games as a loss for the Bills too. So coming out anything better than 3-3, I think is great for me. Um, so I think they just gotta flush this game. Short week, I guess relatively short going into a 1 o'clock Sunday game on the road, and just get ready to play. Because if you can win against the Texans and even the Jets, if you can steal at least one of those in the next two games on the road, I think that sets them up really well after 6 games. So being 4 games in now at 3-1, I think most people would be pretty happy with that. I know tonight leaves a bitter taste in people's mouths, but again, like this isn't the same old Bills. I wouldn't be too negative or too down on yourself and too down on this team. Uh, I think how they respond is going to tell you a lot next week. So um, you know, I think just focus on some of the comments, see what they say, see what we came out with injury wise. Interested to see the Taylor Rapp injury. Shakir, how bad's his ankle? A lot of times when you hurt your ankle, you can go back in that game and then see how the swelling goes over the next few days. They definitely need him back out there, and get ready to go for the Texans. So I'll leave it at that. It's went over a little over a half hour than we thought we were going to. Um, we'll touch more on some of the game on the network over the next few days. So definitely check out our lineup of shows. And then you can catch me Saturday nights. I'll be on Saturday at 9 p.m. for the Buffalo Blueprint, going over the Texans game and the blueprint for a Bills victory to beat the Texans. So everyone have a good night. Make sure you like and subscribe to Do Champions channel. And on Twitter, you can find me at Jake FB Data on Twitter and Instagram. Give me a comment. Oh, we got a guest coming. Hold on. Matt is saying Brady's gonna hop on. So I'll wait if he's gonna hop on. I'm sure he has some fresh takes. Um, yeah, so if student comes on, that'll be nice because I'm kind of out of topics to talk about. I can only beat this so much up. Um, I'm interested to see what the yards per carry ended up being for the Ravens. So they had 271 yards on the ground, 8 yard average. Um, Henry had 112 yards on 23 carries if you take away the one long run. So what, over 5 yards a carry, uh, even without that run. So yeah, tough day on the ground. I was more concerned about again with the Justice Hill stuff and the leaks out of the backfield. The first half, some of those third and long defensive calls were tough as well. Playing just so lax, and not attacking Lamar was interesting to me. I kind of thought they would have come after him, especially early on long and late downs. I think they got a little too confident on their four-man rush early in this game, and mainly on that third drive. Um, I was really expecting them to bring some more pressure. The way the first two drives went, though, they were probably just so shell shocked. I mean, you don't even them into third down on the second drive. Makes it tough. Yeah, exactly. I just, yeah, third and long for me against the Ravens this year is likely and Justice Hill. You got to watch them. Um, and it was tough. It seemed like no one was even accounting for Hill at all. Um, but again, like the game script was just so bad for that defense. I mean, you got one play 87 yards on the first drive. The second drive is right down the field, down your throat, not even getting to third down. And so it is tough. You have a game plan and it's just not working the way you want. And they're having so much success. It's hard to adjust to that. So I don't know. I mean, the second drive was 9 plays, 70 yards. Um, first down, second and 4, first and 10, second and 9, first and 10, second and 7, first and goal from the 4 and a touchdown. That's tough. That is tough to react to. Um, the third drive was first down, second and 10, second and 15, um, third and 11, and then that was the killer. That third and 11 was tough. You really thought they could have a chance to get off the field. He throws to Aguilar, who makes a good play, gets the first down, and then it's first down again at the Bills 33, second and 4, um, second and 4 was the penalty, offensive holding. So you get him back to second and 14. Incomplete pass, deep left. That was the one that was almost picked by Rasul. And I thought he sat back on that. Like he probably should have attacked the ball, but I'm sure he didn't think that Aguilar could get a hand on it. So it was a good play by Aguilar to get up and knock that ball down. He almost made the catch. Third and 14. You got to think that you're going to attack. They don't attack. They drop back in coverage. Um, which was really tough. And that was the dump off to Justice Hill where he ran for the first down. That was really killer, man. Third and 11 and third and 14 on that drive. You give up. And 2nd and 7, they score um, with Justice Hill again, like just tough. I mean, that drive was just brutal for covering Justice Hill. Yeah, the Von Miller, he had a rough game, and Baltimore had a pretty clear game plan for him. It looked like they wanted him to speed rush, and then they just bumped him out wide, and then attack that gap between the defensive tackle, and Vaughn. Um, so yeah, they had a nice game plan for him. Um, and again, yeah, with Hill, like they kind of showed Hill as he was going to block. He did a little chipping, but on that one play that you're mentioning, like yeah, they had Vaughn go right up the field. And Hill just leaked straight out into that gap, just an easy dump to him. And then with Hill's speed, there's just nobody. The linebackers dropped so far back, they don't even account for him. And I understand like they probably really preach this game like for the linebackers to get depth and keep everything in front of them and rally up and tackle. But a team like the Ravens is tough to do that against because a guy like Hill has so much speed and likely as well. They're really good after the catch. And the Ravens do a really good job of sneaking their linemen out to block um, without without getting illegal men downfield. So, credit to them for that as well. But they really rally and block after the catch. And so, they did that a couple times with Hill, and he's able to cut it back upfield and with some blockers in front of him, and their receivers and Andrews as well made some really good blocks. But again, like that is standard like Ravens football over the years, and especially last year going into this year is they really like to get to leak out the running backs and get them in space, and you just didn't see uh, anything, any response to that, any game plan. Again, that's really where you would like to see Milano and Bernard, but those guys are out, so you got to have some type of game plan for it. And I think for Babbage and McDermott, it was 21-3 before they could even really react. And so that was tough. Credit to them, they did. The defense bounced back and forced the fumble before the half to make it 21-3, and then coming out of the half, forcing both those three and outs, um, you know, was was pretty big by the defense. So it was nice to see the defense bounce back in that regard and force both three and outs, gain the momentum back. The offense went down and scored, and that was the trick play that really just stole all the momentum back from that game. So. Um, you have to give the defense a little bit of credit because they did stand up and make a couple stops when they needed it most, and really gave the offense a chance to come back. Um, but it was the way the game went tonight. I mean, you even saw with that fumble in the end zone, they fumble the ball forward and they recover in the end zone. These are the types of games that stuff happens. Um, yeah, I agree. The Bass one's tough. I mean, I don't make any excuses for Bass. That kick was nowhere close. I'll go back and watch it and see if he mishit it or what happened, but it was just a straight pull left. Um, and that's unfortunate for him because that's one where he shouldn't even be kicking that ball. Josh doesn't lose 16 yards on 3rd down and have him kicking. I think it was it a 48 yarder? Um, let's see. Yeah, it was 48-yard field goal. But that's a 2nd and 10 from the Baltimore 20. We gain yardage 3rd and 4 from the Baltimore 14. So I think I'm with everybody there, right? It's 3rd and 4 from the Baltimore 14. You're thinking, get a couple yards here. It's go for it territory. Um, it's 28-10. I don't think anyone's thinking 3rd and 4 we're gonna lose 16 yards and have to kick a 48-yard field goal. Um, so just tough. And then yeah, for Bass, man, he makes the long one earlier in the game, and then he gets the 40-yarder and misses it. And so just add that on to the concerns, going forward. Because out of this game, I think my biggest concerns are safety still needs to be better. They got to figure that out, and kicker, going forward. You can't have Bass going, you know, I know we want to exaggerate and say he's missing half his kicks, but he's what is he 6 of 8 now for the year? But you can't be missing 48 yarders like that in pretty good conditions. Um, that's tough. And so, I mean, does anyone feel confident when he comes out on the field to kick a field goal now? I know I don't. And so going forward, what's the plan? How short is the leash? What's it going to take for them to move on from him? I don't know. I don't want to move on for him. Um, so uh, that's where like that's my biggest question going forward is the confidence in Bass. I don't think it's gotten any better. So the last thing any of us want to do is to switch kickers during the season. There's not a good kicker sitting out there um, to grab. So uh, you got to hope he fixes it. But I don't really have any faith in him doing that. They don't have a kicking coordinator. They're one of the few teams that don't have a kicking coordinator. So that's something interesting to me. I don't know if that's something that Smiley feels like he can do, but there's something they got to figure out with Bass because it's his kicks aren't just barely missing either. The ones he misses are pretty brutal. They're like sideways shanks instead of just missing left or right. Um, so it's definitely something that's still going to be a hot topic. I really hope a game doesn't come down to um, a kick and having to trust Bass to make it. And again, that's where like you saw a little bit in this game of Josh, um, having to, um, feel like he needed to do more. It's the first game. It's the first game this season where you felt like he had to, try to do too much, try to do more, and try to make things happen. He made that great play on the sideline. Um, where he was going out of bounds and completed that, the deep ball to Shakir. And that's, the part of Josh's game we love. Um, but uh, but yeah, you can't you don't want to live that way where Josh feels like he's got to always do that. Uh, I thought this game was the first game this year where you saw him really feel like he had to try to make something happen, and he was trying to extend plays that really just didn't need to be extended. I mean, some plays you just got to throw away and live to the next down. The trick play being one of them. That's a tough spot to put him in, but when you saw the way that play started and the way it broke down, instead of just trying to chuck it, like just take the sack, man, just take the yards. Um, so that was tough. And then also like the same one we just talked about with, before the Bass missed field goal. That's the old Josh. I know he gets around the corner, he stiff arms him, but you have a DN right in front of you. In that game, I know it's 28-10. He really wants to make a play, but it's 3rd and 4. Like, just get rid of the ball there. Just throw it away. It's 4th and 4. Like, you can go for it if you need to. Otherwise, it's a chip shot field goal. So for me, these are things like I want to see corrected and built upon. Like Brady needs to get back in there and talk to Josh, and situationally, I was hoping these things were corrected this year with Josh, and you were going to see him make smarter decisions and live to fight another day, and not feel like he had to put on the Superman cape. But that's another example of where he felt like he had to this game, and it's just not it didn't go well. And so like previous seasons, those are the kind of plays I was hoping we'd see removed. Those big negative plays just don't need to happen. Um, so going forward, I want to see Josh try to correct those. It's hard to chalk this game too much up to Josh. I mean, I feel like he played pretty well. The really only bad throw, was the one to think it was Hollins out of the half. He tried to fit it in there, and it was just behind him and just not a good throw. But otherwise, he made some good throws. That deep ball to Coleman was absolutely perfect, put right in the bucket, and would have been 1st and goal from like the 2 or 3. Instead, we get nothing out of that drive. So that was really tough before the half. He had some really nice back shoulder throws to Coleman. I want to see them build upon that. You also saw Coleman go over the middle finally, which was nice in this game. I thought this was a chance, like type of game where you could see Coleman go over the middle, even down the seams, line him up in the slot a little. So I'm hoping this is a game where we try to build on some of that stuff. But that's where I was disappointed was the game plan to attack the middle of the field just wasn't there tonight. I thought it would be something that Brady would go to and spam, um, but they really didn't. Um, so yeah, I want to see an identity for next week. I want to see Brady get back to developing that offensive identity and a clear game plan that we all see what the plan is because you could tell that they wanted to go pass first this game and lean on the pass, but um, I don't think quick screens to the outside is the way to attack this defense. And what is the play off of that? What are they setting up off of that play? They've shown that look a lot now, but what is the look off that? Like I'm waiting for Josh to turn, fake that, and then go to the middle. On the show last night, I talked about that exact play, those flare screens to Kincaid and to Shakir. What is the play off of that? And I thought this game you were going to see it where they were going to fake to that and throw it over the middle of the field. And it's a perfect team to do that against. And you just didn't see a wrinkle off of that. So again, that's where I was disappointed with Brady tonight as far as like his full game plan of what he wanted to do. It didn't seem very developed. But that can kind of happen in a game that gets unraveled as far as the game script wise. A couple bad penalties, a couple drops. Um, and so things kind of got out of hand. Another tough defense, and if Bernard and Johnson not back, they're going to have an issue with the middle of the field again. Diggs, Collins, Dell are going to eat. Yeah, we'll see. Tank Dell. We'll see how healthy he is. I do think like a more traditional drop back passing offense we're way better suited to handle that. Texans don't run the ball well either. So I do feel like we match up a lot better against the Texans. I'm not worried about outside threats or even passing over the middle. I think it's when you combine the power running and the big personnel with a play action that gets the Bills in trouble, and that's not what the Texans are. So I'm not super worried about the current personnel going against this Texans team. I also think you want to disguise a lot and show some interesting pressures and even some more blitzing against Stroud. You saw what Minnesota was able to do to him as far as really confusing things, showing some cover zero, backing out of it into cover three, and things like that that the Bills have shown that they can do as well, and that really confused Stroud. And that Texans O line is not very good. So I think it's a much better matchup next week, and we'll see. Hopefully Bernard's back and healthy. Hopefully Taryn is as well. I know this is a game that Taryn had circled that he wanted to be back by, so that would be huge to have him back. And then yeah, getting Bernard back is obviously massive as well. I don't really want them to rush Bernard back though. With a pec, you injure that again, you re-injure that, and it's kind of a there's no going back from that. It's end of the season, usually surgery. So I don't mind them slow playing that a little bit and make sure he comes back. I think when Milano did that a couple years ago with a pec strain, when they had him come back, they limited his snaps and mainly had him in pass coverage. I don't think you have the luxury to do that with Bernard unless you ran him out in like third down, passing downs, which would be kind of weird to sub out your green dot, but maybe. So hopefully he's fully healthy and he can come back. I really don't want them to rush him and risk injury. Um, so we'll see about that. I'm interested to though when Taryn comes back. Um, and even Bernard as well. Like, are they going to keep the dime looks? And if they do keep the dime looks, is it going to be Cam Lewis that comes in, or are they going to stay with Ingram? I really like the play out of Ingram. I'm interested to go back and watch the film on how he played. I didn't really notice him too much as far as making plays. I didn't really notice him as far as being the issue of plays. But again, I wonder how many even snaps he had. I wasn't really tracking that. It's not really a game for dime looks. So I'm interested to see there. I know they did go to base a couple times and they brought in Morrow. I was curious going into the game what their plan was if they did go to base and who they were going to bring in, and to see Morrow in there um, was interesting. I totally understand it. He's got way more experience than bringing in, um, Andreessen, but I thought it was a better game for Andreessen as far as his quick trigger downhill and his ability to hit and make splash plays. He's more of the style of linebacker that Babbage and McDermott really like as far as knifing through the line of scrimmage, like you see Bernard and Milano do, and making those negative plays. And so I thought he would maybe be a better fit as your third linebacker, but I don't even know what they've been running him as. Like I know they started him at Mike, and then they wanted him to run a little bit of Will, but I think they ended up just keeping him at Mike because of some of the injuries. So I'm not even sure how many reps he's had running as that third linebacker on the outside. So it made sense to bring in Morrow, but the couple of plays I saw Morrow come in, he was lost, man. He looked slow. He was out of his gap. And so I don't know how effective that was. And then you saw them once Rap went out, they started bringing the safeties both down in the box with Bishop and really selling out at that point in the game to stop the run. So uh, it's hard again because of the injuries, like to take too much away from and worry too much going forward about your fourth and fifth linebackers. Um, you know, obviously it's a trend from last year where we were on our sixth linebacker starting. So hopefully it's not something that continues going forward. But with Bernard coming back and hopefully Milano at some point, you don't really need to see a Nick Morrow or a Andreessen back on the field. But yeah, that I think that's where they really miss Taryn again too, right? I think if Taryn's out there, they're not feeling the need to go to base at all. Um, and so again, like it's just it's hard to pick a three worse injuries for the Bills to have this early in the season to face a team like the Ravens. So I'm gonna try not to chalk too much up to this game and the defensive performance, just because I feel like it's just that matchup that's really tough and really stressed this defense in unique ways, and they just didn't have the personnel for it. Um, and you got to give them credit because they did make a couple stops. They forced the fumble and really turned the game around and gave the offense a chance to get back into this game. Uh, and the offense just couldn't capitalize. They scored the one touchdown, which was great, but the second time they got the ball, they started moving it again, and then the trick play happened, and that really flipped the momentum back, and they were never able to recover it again. So I do give the defense at least credit for that, getting him back in the game with three straight stops to end the half and then to come out of the half. So if that's something you want to take away from this game, then that was nice. At least they were able to bow up and make those stops. Um, but after the offense, with the fumble with Josh on the trick play, it was over for the defense. They were just gassed, and couldn't stop them from there. So again, like overall, this game, I think you just got to factor it in. It's just one of those games. Um, what do we have here?
How we doing, man?
You know,
Oh, give me a sec. Oh, oh, oh.
I'll give you a second to figure it out. You'll get it going. I can only talk to myself for so long, so it's nice to have a little company. I will gladly wait for you to figure it out, so that way I'm not just talking to myself any longer. Hopefully you can figure it out. I'm waiting for the Matt jokes to come in. Silver linings from the game. You know, I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I would say maybe Coleman to see him bounce back after the drop, make a couple good catches. I thought that was nice to see. Get him, build him up the confidence again. Some of those shoulder throws are really nice to see Josh have the confidence to go to him and then him to make two catches like that on the sideline. Those are tough catches. Um, I think people forget like it's his fourth game as a rookie when people did think he was going to need time to get going. So, um, you know, don't kill the kid because he had a drop. I think it was nice to see him bounce back. I do want to see him work over the middle more. I think with his big frame and his ability to snatch the ball like he does and then turn into a runner, I think his yak ability, we haven't seen it yet, but you saw it a lot in college. He's really good after the catch. And so I don't know why we haven't used him more in that. And even some of those flare routes, I'd like to see him get the ball in his hands and let him run. And you just haven't seen him yet. So I'd say maybe Coleman as a silver lining.
Man, how you doing, bud? Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, man.
Man, that was tough. That was tough. What do you already go over? There's a lot too. I know.
We're going over a lot, but it's just my opinion. So Matt asked what your silver linings are in the loss. I don't know if you want to do your, your
my peak
your
and my pit. The peak
yeah,
and
your
pit.
peak
Is that
and
what
your
you're asking
pit.
about?
Yeah.
Man, you are you're putting me a little bit on the spot here. The peak is that you're not gonna like it, man. The peak is kind of Balin Spector. He got ran. He got ran out of position. He got ran. Yep. He got ran in strength. But we got a guy that didn't give up over all 4 quarters. He did not have a strong performance. Don't get it twisted, Jake. He did not play well.
Yep.
But he didn't give up.
Yeah, that tackle he made when he spied Lamar and tackled Lamar in the open field, that was a phenomenal play. Like that was
relentless effort.
Big time. Yeah, for sure.
To me it was
but if that's your backup middle linebacker, right? Like if that's your backup middle linebacker that has to come in, God forbid, for a couple snaps here or there, like that is a huge luxury to have. Because like you said, like he doesn't give up. He had command of the defense. You don't see guys out of position after the snap, sure, but pre-snap, he has guys lined up. He has them in the right plays, and so I think that's a good call because they could have been rattled. They did bounce back, right? They got punched in the face early.
I mean, the game was out of hand for a while. It was definitely out of hand for a
for
while.
Sure, for sure.
But you control your own effort, okay? You can't control get mollywopped sometime because you're 1 of 11, right? You control your own effort, and if there is a silver lining, I liked Balin Spector's effort. Okay. The pit was at the same token the linebacking core. It didn't
touched
matter
on that.
But it didn't matter. It did not matter if we were running spy. If we weren't running spy, Lamar Jackson identified that immediately. He pulled down immediately. And since they have such upfield wide receivers, when you're playing that bell cover 2 out of middle linebacker, you have to get to the hash. Your main duty is if you're running it too high. The worst pressure you can put on the safety is someone going directly up the hash because he doesn't know whether to bail to the boundary or drift to the middle of the field. So if the linebacker has a bail quick and wall off zone turn, as they call it, they were so concerned with getting to their marks, they didn't think that it was pass. Draw.
Yep.
But I mean, you didn't give him a lot.
And then where was the Justice Hill dump offs? Like that's what I talked on earlier. Was they were so concerned with dropping deep as linebackers and getting to their landmarks. No one was accounting for Hill coming out of the backfield, and there was 15 yards of space.
It did happen in cover 2, but it happened more prominently in cover 1, where you have the linebackers responsible for a backfield release. The problem there is you have
the Ravens were specifically attacking that. They were attacking that because they were not leaving anyone in the flats. So the flats defenders were dropping, right? And so that was allowing Hill to have that space. So you didn't have your corners in your flats defenders. So it was all on the linebackers.
Well, in cover, the cover 1
dropping.
In cover 1, you only have a 1 safety high, and you have the corners playing man 2. So that flat really opens up, especially if they run a clear out. Because the corners,
they were specifically running Bateman and Zay Flowers. They were running them deep on the third. I think it was the 3rd and 11 and the 3rd and 14 on that 3rd drive. They did the same thing. They sent Zay and Bateman deep, exactly like you said, and leaving the middle that middle 10 yards just wide open.
Yeah. What is Matt telling me to do? Not that. Anyway, we're gonna open up the phone line right now. If you guys want to give us a call, we'll put out a tweet. From Pat, whatever the phone number to call right now. Give me one second. It's gonna be 716. Maybe. I don't know. Should it be 716? Am I proud of being in 716? 716-393-5856. Once again, 716-393-5856. I'm going to put that in a banner right now. Jake, did you get your peek in the pit? And if you did, can I hear it quickly?
If we're focusing on the defense,
that's just where it lied. Let me finish that real quick, not to interrupt you. The offense didn't do any favors to the defense. Okay.
Yep, for sure.
There's no iPad coaching when you get a 3 and out. There's no bodily rest when the offense goes 3 and out. There's no air, right? You're just huffing and puffing. And here's the thing that no one's going to probably talk about. Your backup linebackers are probably on the punt team. So now they run down the field 40 yards, right? They get 3 plays off because Josh can't get anything going. A lot of our backup linebackers are on kick coverage. So now they have to go on 4th down, and then they have to get right back on defense. Man, we were dog tired. But it's not out of conditioning, man. It's just, I mean, you got Milano out, all pro. Teron Johnson. Terrell Bernard. I mean, maybe at some point injuries caught up to us and we got out schemed due to people not optimally playing as many snaps as we would like them to. I mean, a lot of the D-line rotation even seemed a little it seemed a little heavy, as in normally it's 3-4 plays as an extended drive. I saw a lot of people in there for 6 because we needed big blows because they're not getting, because I shouldn't say Josh, the offense is not doing anything. Our biggest rest for the defense was praying for a TV timeout.
I mean, I think that's a really good call out. That's not something I touched on, but they ran a shit ton of 21 personnel in that first half, especially those first drives. And so they're big bodies, dual backs, and it really stressed them. And I think that's a great call out because, they're requiring Patrick Ricard or whatever is their, fullback, you want to call him, but that's a 6'0" lineman, in there. And then with Andrews in there as well, or likely.
Yeah. But I mean, Ricard played defensive line at the University of Maine. That's what he was drafted for. There's also a guy in the Chargers that does it. His name escapes me. He's like a very redhead guy. Maybe albino. I don't want to mix up Pantones, but that's the first time I probably laughed on the inside, certainly not on the outside, all day. My thing is that I did not get worried until I had to get worried. I sent the tweet out. The Ravens don't close out games very well. They couldn't get it done against KC, right? They had every opportunity in the red zone, just didn't get it done. You can call the refs on whatever. I don't subscribe to that. They almost let Dallas back in. We had Mitch Trubisky playing inside our own 20 reps. That's not exactly where you want to get your backup quarterback work, because that's a pretty volatile place to lose the ball. That's how over the game was. And that's not like, let's see what we got with Mitch, because this is his second tenure on the roster. He's not in a contract year. It was just like, this is out of hand. That's closing out a game. Good for you, Ravens.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though. That's what was so frustrating in this game was you saw the defense finally force, 3 and outs, right? So to start the second half, 3 and out, we go down and score a touchdown. It's what, 21, was it 21-10 at that point?
A lot to a little.
And then they force another 3 and out, right? We get the ball back, we move the ball, we get it to the Baltimore 44, 2nd and 7, and that's when they call the trick play. Josh fumbles it, and that game over at that point. Like, that was the Ravens closing the game out. Like, credit Van Noy for making a great play, but that play call was brutal, and that really flipped the game. Like, that was the Ravens letting us back in the game. They go,
no, I didn't see that play.
3 and out, 3 and out.
I didn't see that play. I'll tell you what I was doing. I'll tell you what, it's funny what I was doing. I must have went through 3 Tinses in. I was just stressed out, man. I was having a Nick fit. I powered on WGR because I had to turn off Collinsworth.
Oh, he was brutal. He was rough, man.
I mean, if we can touch on that quickly, he's paid a lot of money. He owns PFF. He has all the data in the world, and I can't tell you one impartment, one nugget that wasn't a social piece, or one bit of analytics that wasn't so glaringly in front of you, it is just NBC does such a great job with the replay, with the support
I
system,
agree.
with
The
their
camera
data. It's
angles.
just such a damn shame that that guy seemingly mails it in. I mean, it's like, and I'm obviously sour grapes. It's kind of like your uncle with this, the hot penny stock tip at Thanksgiving. He's just gonna go over the same talking points over and over and over to the point where it's just like you kind of hone in on that that nonsense he's gonna break out that really makes you hate him because you drown out everything else. I mean, Mike Tirico said that. I'm nitpicking here, but Mike Tirico said, the Ravens started the season 0-2. Sweetheart, we're in week 4.
Yeah.
Nothing made me feel like what I watched from production on field, from production on air, that this was anything much more than starters playing all 3.9 quarters of the preseason.
Yeah.
And I got some annoying texts. Maybe we needed this humbling loss. What was like humbling about it? If anything, it's questioning. Because you know who's going to have a really hard day tomorrow? Nick Wright. You want to know why? Because he's going to be able to have the same show he had last year, crowning us the champs of September. Yep. He's going to have a hard show coming up with something different because he has every right to really just call in sick tomorrow and just replay last year's show if he wants to be punchy. That sucks.
I mean, that's the only thing though. It's like it's week 4. Like I could care less. I think for me, like this matchup came down to could you get the Ravens into negative plays and missing Karen, Bernard, and Milano, who in the run game. Right, all 3 All Pros and your captain. All 3 of those guys though, are known to force negative plays in the run game. So they fire. This defense is about standing up your man, penetration style, and letting your linebackers then knife through. Like they want the linebackers and Taryn to get into the backfield. They do not want them making plays on the second level. Like if the running back gets to the second level and downhill, it is a failure. Like they made a mistake. And that you did not see any linebackers or corners in the backfield tonight. And here's a stat for you. The Ravens averaged 5.18 yards. 5 yards before contact per carry tonight. 5 yards before contact. That is unreal. I mean, if you average more than 2 yards before contact,
I was like, "There's no way he said that right." Jesus,
yeah,
we didn't have a play over 10 yards in the first half. Is that correct?
Yeah. Recent attempt to pass besides the one Coleman one over 10 yards.
That's inflicting your will on both sides of the ball.
For sure. And that's what I talked about. Like we sat back and waited to see what the Ravens were going to do. And the Ravens came into the game with a plan, just shoving it down our throats. And we waited. We sat back. We did not come out with a plan to attack. And that's the biggest takeaway for me in this game.
Jake, I hate we just take what they give us. Here's a different way to say that. We really took what they were giving us. Interesting way to say it.
Sure.
It's a lazy analytics to say, oh, we were just taking what they were giving us. We took what they were giving us. And I mean, it's exhaustion, man. We go back to the linebackers because that is my expertise. You're getting your middle linebacker cut off on a chip block on an outside run by a tackle. He's chipping a 300-pound defensive lineman, and he still has the opportunity to cut you off in your own backfield, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't want to crush anyone for talent. How can you expect guys to just keep? It's like Marshawn Lynch, just over and over and over and over, and that can be I'm on the field over and over, or we never got any real breaks that really materialized into momentum.
Yeah.
I'm not
Not
gonna
until the second half, for sure. I mean, I thought the only chance in the first half to gain momentum back was the fumble by Lamar. I think it was like 3 minutes left. We get the ball back. It's 21-3, and that was the chance to get momentum back, get some points. That was I think that was the drive with Coleman with the drop downfield right in the basket. But that was the only chance in the first half. The second half, when you force a 3-and-out, we go down and score. But that drive for me, that's how I thought they were going to play defense all game. Was
That's
they
why I hope.
fired their gun on first down? They run blitzed both linebackers, and I thought that you were going to see more of that because I thought last time we played Derrick Henry, I know he was on the Titans, but I thought McDermott learned something
I
in
mean, he
that
hasn't
game.
slowed down since last year.
Right, but I thought,
Both at speed and brute. By the way, real quick, that Eric Dickerson, did you see that clip?
yeah,
How they run
it was
upright?
crazy.
Collinsworth is
Yeah,
an idiot.
yeah.
He showed how they run upright as Derrick Henry is pulling up at the 1 yard line to walk in the end zone. Yeah, he's gonna be upright because he wasn't touched, you dunce. Like,
Yeah, that was a tough little
I
comparison
mean,
there.
when there's no, I mean, this isn't really on Collinsworth. Maybe he ran out of shit to talk about because it was just such a one-sided battle. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, with a team that plays so many primetime games, you can't take the air out of the listener and be like, oh, they suck, because you're gonna have to keep calling their games and stuff like that, right? You don't want to. It's kind of true, but maybe they had to make it up. I want to talk to you about one thing that really made me upset. People tweeting Joshua Patrick Allen on that borderline duck he had to throw. Granted, he gets out of the pocket. He's chased by 3 guys. It's 3rd and 8. He can't take a sack. A sack's running out of bounds. I guess everybody hates arm punt. That if it gets intercepted, we're like, oh, arm punt. This guy, first of all, he caught it like a breadbasket because he either had to get it away, arm punt, or just pray for something. Something good happened. And he's like, he's a freak. he threw up a prayer, not because he's a bad quarterback, because of all the aforementioned. And for Joshua Patrick, we saw Josh Allen today, but like to crown that as like that was fortunate, but how unfortunate that like that play had to happen. We had to accept it, yet we had to find maybe a silver lining through false narratives, man. That was sad. That like people were like hyped about that. That was a duck thrown in the air. We caught it, and it just happened to go our way. Maybe the one thing that went our way in 4 drives. People got to be smart.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, I thought that was a great play by Shakir on cover. He was pretty wide open, but yeah, I think have you seen that stat though about within 1 yard of the out of bounds? Josh has like
The
more
boundary.
yards. Yeah, he has more yards completing passes than the rest of the NFL combined quarterbacks. What?
Because if you, I mean, just say for, I don't know, argument's sake, right? What is the hash is what, 20 yards in?
I think so.
So if say we get the ball in the middle of the hash, that's 25 yards. If he has room to scramble for 25 yards, we are no longer on route trees. We're playing playground ball. And if we're playing playground ball, that means we're not in defined coverage anymore. It's like, oh shit. That's why the yardage just happened. Now here's the
and he can make any of the throws, right, that he needs to complete.
And I did tweet it, just because you can make the throw. That's where I thought we saw a little bit of, oh shit, I'm going to have to make this happen. It didn't feel like all 11. It didn't feel like everybody eats because we didn't.
No, I agree. I made that point earlier. I made that point earlier as far as you saw a little bit of hero Josh come out this game.
Because
it was 3rd and 4, when they were at the 20-yard line of the Ravens, and he took that brutal sack to lose 16 yards, and then you had Bass miss the field goal. That was hero Josh again. Like, it's 3rd and 4.
I'm going to hear about that Bass field goal a lot.
Yeah, and it was unfortunate. It should have never happened. He should have never even attempted that field goal.
What are we going to hear more about? The Keon drop or the missed field goal?
I think it should be more the field goal. I'm not worried about that drop. I mean, the dude's young. Like that's a tough catch. It's one he's got to make, but tough catch. He bounced back nicely.
Get your hands. You got to catch it
for sure. And if you watch it, he looks like he's gonna high point it, and then he changes his hands around at the last second. You can't do that. So I mean, I think it's a learning thing. But he bounced back. He made those 2 nice back shoulder catches, and then the one over the middle. Like I think that should be a new conversation. Like whatever. No receiver catches every pass. Um,
Correct.
but at that point in the game, it's brutal.
It's also brutal because just the slight over the shoulder yet lack of, it can be lack of concentrate. It can be anything. We'll call it lack of concentration. So many people are going to draw parallels to that Diggs drop. That's it's easy. Yeah, they look the same,
sure.
but
it's also a rookie in his fourth game.
Thank you.
It's
gonna be lazy.
So for sure.
I mean, you saw the vitriol you got. I didn't see it. And if it's too punchy, we don't have to, get into, people being mean. But man, this is what I'm going to say. People have opinions about everybody eats. People hated it. Mm-hmm. I like that a lot better than Josh has to play hero ball because there's not enough food. People what are we doing when people turn on each other? We got a good record. We lost to a good team. We lost to last year's MVP. We lost to Derrick Henry. That is, Gurley retired at 26 after Don't Touch Gurley. Remember that the Hard Knocks. He's 20 because running backs. He's 6'4", 270. He's bruising still, and he's got speed. We also a really good team, man, and a team that played really. They played their best game of the season right now. In all phases in closing it out and opening it out in kind of inflicting their will and not they never had to deviate from their game. We tried to deviate. And they exposed us. Now, did they expose us bad scheme? I didn't see a different scheme. I saw us switching it up when we had to. Did they expose us because of conditioning? Probably not. I mean, I'd like to see how many snaps and average rest rate. Jake, check that. The defense got. You bring it up all the time. Or was it just injuries finally caught up to us because we're not going to match up to every team well? I mean, some players are going to be more serviceable versus NFC North teams because of just the style of the ball, West Coast offense and stuff like that. What if we got a 17-year coach who dialed it up like a 17-year coach who's won a Super Bowl? Maybe, I don't know. What do you think? Nothing, because we're
no. I mean, I think that's the takeaway from this game is it is a really brutal matchup for us with the injuries we've had. I thought Brady did not call a good game. I didn't think he had a good game plan early in that game.
Still haven't talked about that play. Anyway, I called, not to interrupt. The Zen thing. I just touched the radio and all I hear is Eric Wood going, I that just looked. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, you would have been mad. They had Josh wind up at wide receiver on the left side, 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. They had Samuel at the quarterback in shotgun.
So let me get this straight. You split your wide receiver out, or your quarterback at wide receiver, and then you gave him the ball to throw? That's like the Pat McAfee fake snap versus the Patriots.
Yeah, it made no sense. Samuel takes the direct snap, runs towards Josh, and then flips it to him. And then Josh is supposed to, with defenders crashing in on him, right? Van Noy made a great play, and Josh has got to throw the ball really quick. He just needs to eat that and take the sack. It was a terribly designed play that the Ravens read really well, and not the right time to call it. We had momentum.
We're on the
44-yard line.
Maybe we're just putting something on tape. Horrible call.
I hate trick plays to begin with. I think that you only ever pull them out in crazy situations. You don't have the momentum. You're trying to get something going, a spark, something. We had the momentum.
It's almost like you're approaching the apex of the hill, because if you get this going, the momentum of the rest of the game will, the rest of the hill will carry you down. That was just if you get this, great. Yeah, got to score about 21 more.
Well, it's 21-10. It's 21-10. We have the ball at the Ravens' 44-yard line.
That defense wasn't stopping. You're gonna ever stop them the next two drives? I think they scored the next drive, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think they did. They make it 28-10. I think that drive you have to score. It's 2nd and 7. There's no reason to call a trick play there, and so that was brutal. I don't think Brady had a good game plan to begin with.
With a bad hand.
Yeah, exactly. Your quarterback has a bad hand.
There's a myriad of issues of things that could go wrong in a game that's starting to trend out of hand. Let's put our quarterback in a vulnerable position, out of position, and then throw him the ball. We're worried about him going under center because of that hand a couple weeks ago. Now we're going to throw him the ball from a guy that doesn't categorically play quarterback with defensive. He's fair game. He's behind the line of scrimmage. What the fuck are we doing?
And Josh got lit up too on that play. They hit his arm. Van Noy hit his hand as he was throwing, so Josh had an empty ball when he threw it, and that could have been real dangerous. We're lucky he came back in after that. But
I mean, at least on designed runs, he's running north-south. When he's waiting for a ball right there, he's a sitting duck. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Anyway, I think I hit the max curse words for that. How are you going to tackle this data tomorrow? And are you gonna let it rest out of emotion, or are you just numbers don't lie, ball don't lie? How are you gonna handle it?
I think for me, if anything, I want to focus more on Brady and the offensive game plan. And
is that a signing blame, or have you taken a peek and you think you might have you might be able to give a educated guess that that in lies how we got out of phase from the other games this season?
It's tough because I think they did move the ball. Like, they didn't 3-and-out early. Like, they did move the ball. It was, you had the drop from Kincaid on third down. You had the Coleman drop deep. They had the holding penalties that really hurt. Both holding penalties really hurt them. Got them behind the sticks.
Ripped off.
Yeah, Josh got his helmet ripped off. No flag. They also get the 3rd and 2. And they call a drop back play and throw it to Kincaid. I didn't like that call. And then it's 4th and 2 from the 50, and McDermott doesn't go for it again. Continuing the trend that I said is he's selectively.
People fuck up.
he's
that was weird.
Aggressive though. It's like really weird. It's like he wants to be aggressive, but just flirts with it. And then when he has the chance to truly be aggressive, he doesn't do it. And that's the first drive of the game. Like, you're trying to set the tone. You converted the 4th and 1 in your own end.
We're gonna play
4th and 2.
You saw it's like faux. You saw faux aggression because when true aggression is meeting end result, and then you could be like, yeah, I inflicted my will. No one ever says I inflicted my will on 3rd and 1, but we didn't get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and I think the other thing too is, like, when you trust your defense and you're a defensive minded coach, right? That's when you should be aggressive on offense, because you trust that your defense will blow up and make a stand. I don't think if you trust your defense and you're sending a message, you don't say, oh, we're going to punt from the 50-yard line to pin them back because I trust my defense to get the offense the ball back. Like, I don't like that. That's not being aggressive as a team. Like, I don't want my team to be run through the defense and for them to be defensively aggressive. Like, you have Josh Allen as your quarterback. You want to dictate terms. I want the ball in his hands, and I want to be aggressive on offense and set the tone. And I thought that's where the game really turned from the beginning, because you don't punt from the 50 on 4th and 2. And part of that is just not a good play call on 3rd and 2. Like, if it's 3rd and 2 and you have a chance to go for it, like, you're in that territory, there's a lot of other plays I call there then. Like, that's when you call your wide receiver little flare, or you run the rock, bring in Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, or you run a little play action and sneak a tight end or the running back out. Like, there's a lot of plays you run there that pick up that yardage. I hated it. That set the tone for the night.
Also, you can't fuck up field position when the other team has a kicker like they do.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't fuck up field position because you give them the ball on the if you say you go for it on that 4th down, you have to think, if you lose the ball there on the 4th down and say they get the ball back on the opposing 48. 65 yards. But if you gain 4 yards, you're in the rate. What, Prater, right? Is it? Oh no, who's the kicker? It doesn't matter. Justin Tucker. You're in his range. You can't fuck up field position, and I don't think we ever were in a.
Yeah, but fuck, like that's the part of me where, like, that's bullshit. Like, that's not aggressive football. Like, I don't care about 3 points. 3 points don't matter in this game.
What they have.
Right, I want touchdowns. This is the game where you're going against Mahomes from 3 years ago, where it's I gotta score 30 plus or it's over. The game's over. So I don't care about field goals or giving them field goals or me getting field goals or putting the ball for field position to pin them back. Because I think they're gonna score. And so for me, I want to score as many points as I have. I want to capitalize on every offensive position I have, and that's what I think of as an aggressive head coach and an offensive mindset that McDermott doesn't have. And people keep arguing and saying McDermott is this aggressive coach. He's not. He's selectively aggressive.
But at the same time, I don't know if you can say that at the same time, because last week we were calling them a three-headed monster. We finally have an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and a guy who's overseeing the team. I don't want to assign false blame because it was performance based. It was we just
McDermott decision making. Like both the prior two games, there was no game script where he was threatened to have to make decisions like this or the tempo.
Okay, you got me.
Like this was their chance, like to dictate terms. You
don't think anything on the field got uptick to the CEO. This is the first time. This is the first time we were in a bad spot, and Brady wasn't doing it.
He makes the call to go for it on. So he makes the call to go for it on 4th and 1 from our own 39-yard line. That's great. Like I'm all for that. Like that's 95% conversion rate for Josh Allen from 4th and 1. Like that's for me all day. I don't care if we're at our 5-yard line. Like that's 4th and 1. I'm going for it with our offense and our team. Now you're at the 50-yard line. It's 4th and 2. But that's an 80% conversion rate. Like you're going for that anyway. I don't care. Again, if that's the mindset you're going to go with, if you're going to be an offensive or you're going to be an aggressive head coach, and you're going to say I'm going to trust in my offense, and I'm going to believe in them and go for it, you're going for it on 4th and 2 from the 50. So that's the tone for me. That's safe. I don't trust my offense. I'm going to play it to my defense and trust my defense. The next fucking play is 87-yard touchdown run.
I like that. You're not coaching for the belief and what you've been. You're like it's not doing it right now, and now I have to play which we didn't do well, the field position game, and you have to kind of calculate that it's not going well. Maybe it's not 80%. It's been 80% over a larger data set, but today is not our day.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I like that.
That is the definition of actions dictating, instead of words. He might say, I trust in my offense. I'm going to be aggressive, but his actions don't show that on that 4th and 2 from the 50.
When it's going well.
For sure. Right.
That's true.
And it's like, you can't be selective with that. Like, you played that momentum and that trust and that belief is real. Like you set that tone early and you say, we're coming at you. We're attacking. Like that sets the tone for the game. So not only did they not go for it on that 4th and 2, they punted. The next fucking play is 87-yard touchdown by Henry. So that's like compounding the problem. You played passive on offense, you give the ball back, and then the first play, they shove it down your throat and score a touchdown. Like that flipped the whole game for me and said, watch out.
Well, we're at an hour and 40, man. I'll end the show with kind of the polar opposite of, hey man, good luck, don't get hurt, get well. Man, a lot of people get well because this is what we got, and we lost a little bit. I thought Alec Anderson, he came in and just damned us. We've seen him at tackle. We've seen him in the jumbo sets. We had him at center today. It wasn't really clear what was, not that it ever will be with, the helmets, the blue tents, and he had his helmet taken away for a little bit. And that is
McGovern or Alec?
McGovern, because when Alec came in from center,
they showed the replay, they said it looked like Spencer Brown fell on his head after the play. So they radioed down.
Even the guy Spencer Brown, who's hasn't had a pressure. He got shoulder dipped a couple times. They know he got him. He's good for him, man. And I almost forgot, God forbid, I'd be less of a viewer if Collinsworth didn't point it out, that they're a different team with Derrick Henry. Thanks, sweetheart. Appreciate you. Hey, Jake. Not that great to be seen, but it could be seen.
Gotta be seen, man. Until next time. Love you. Peace out.
Did we play the shout song? Did we hear it? Did we hear it today?
No, we didn't.
Puke.